Welcome to the Sankofa Ancestor Shrine, where, every week, we invite spiritual Black folk to reconnect with our ancestors as we journey through the crossroads. Please consider donating through patreon.com/Sankofa Shrine. Asasheya, we call on the trees. Sacred gateways on Mama Earth. Protectors and providers, we call on your power. Help us to grow to towering heights and sink our roots deep wherever we stand. You who builds homes, creates fire, and spreads knowledge, protect us through all the storms of life. Empower us with the miraculous power of the seed, the creative reach and growth of the leaves and branches, and the nourishment and sturdiness of the trunk. Grant us longevity, wellness, and strength, Soul Protector. We call on your power. Protect us this week. Ashe. All right, let's start with 3 deep cleansing breaths.
Hey Teru, you're beautiful. Hey Teru, your principles have touched my femininity. Hey Teru, you've blessed my heart pure blessings from my heart, pure blessings from my soul. I'll share my love for all to see. Beloved, 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 beloved. Who would believe your grace would move me so? I'd be admiring you. Who would have known that not so long ago I could ever be so impressed with you? And Haru, pure blessings from my heart, pure blessings from my soul. I'll share my love for all to see. Beloved, 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 beloved. Sister Queen, you should remember, beauty comes from within. I don't think she's beloved. Now that's not her root. Beloved, beloved, oh beloved, beloved, beautiful, beloved, 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 beautiful.
Hello, beloved, and welcome to the Sankofa Ancestor Shrine. I'm your host, Sacred Woman Practitioner Tatami, and today I am recording in my kids' room, so that's why today is a little different. And I hope it doesn't really impact the sound too much. I'm like right between the living room and my room. We'll see how it goes. Today, I'm going to bring out an older text that we used to read a little more often, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Book of Coming Forth by Day. I think it is such a treasure trove of information and highly African in concepts, in the way, the rhythm, the way that things are spoken, as well as the rituals spoken of therein. A lot of people really want a spell book and forget that we do have some, and that they can absolutely teach us and influence us and inspire us. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to read a little bit out of this to help give a little of that boost and show you how reading a book like this can really inspire you. But don't just stop with this type of text, beloved. I do want you to feel inspired to find other texts and read them in much the same way. For example, the slave narratives, we have them for pretty much every state that had slaves, and where our ancestors were enslaved, they all had a way of living that very much had conjure and Rootwork infused. And so when they would be interviewed for the slave narratives, they just spoke of very basic actions. For example, oh, you know, that person, they can't even cross my gate, because you see that right there, I put that there so that they can't even do it. Or that they would talk about the ancestors who were able to escape by flying, or, you know, numerous other really traditional instances of root working in our community, which just were very casually infused, as well as they can inspire us. They were stories that passed on, and some of them are very famous to this day, right? We have that famous set of stories, the children could fly, or the people could fly. Flying is a huge part of the culture. There's a certain, I know for certain islands, they wouldn't even enslave people from certain countries anymore because they said it wasn't worth it. The people would just fly away. And so there's a huge, connection to all of this that I think we can start to find when we find ourselves a little more open, and we're not just like needing to have one certain type of book, needing to have the Bible, needing to have somebody point us in that complete direction, because often we are alone, and if we wait around for somebody to point us in the direction, honey, it's never going to happen, right? So we need to be able to make sure we're finding those ways to reach out on our own. So I'm on page, well, they don't really have pages in this book. I really recommend, if you're going to get this one, to get this one, The Complete Papyrus of Ani, with, it says Dr. Ogden Jolette Jr. This edition that you're seeing is very big, but that's because they have all of the hieroglyphics up here and the English translation at the bottom. And that's all the pages. It's beautifully drawn, all this beautiful melanin that you see on all the pictures. It's just really well done. There's not much to dislike, beloved. It's a really beautiful book. So if you're going to get yourself a copy of this to have it in your hands, because you can get it online, obviously, a free copy, but it's a little more difficult when you don't have it just in your hands. And this version I found is just pulls you right in. So the plates, we're on 32A, 32B. We're going to be reading 155 and 156. So the first one, Chapter for a Jed Pillar of Gold. Now, the Jed, D-J-E-D, the Jed Pillar, I believe, is in conjunction with Osiris. And yes, Osiris. And Osiris, this is like a pillar that is a pillar of strength, stability. I know a lot of people, especially because of how it's carried in his arms in certain hieroglyphics, have equated it to, the spinal cord, the to the phallic organ, right, to a penis, because it's a pillar. And some people really adhere to this. I have also read, however, a more traditional interpretation, which interprets it more of the stability of a tree, and the divinity of a tree, the stability of a tree, the way you can really lean on it, and it's supported and roots itself down deep, and therefore can be relied on, in the way your pillar can hold up a home or a temple, and you rely on that as you walk in on under this, right? And I thought that was very interesting, because it goes back to what we were learning last week about sacred trees and the use of sacred trees throughout Africa. And obviously there was Egyptian tree lore that was in that conversation, which could be connected to this. But I did think that was very interesting, that there is that sexual component that a lot of people put on it. However, the which is how I knew of it when I tried to look it up. I was very confused about a lot of what I was reading because of what I remember. But I think either way, it does have similar connotations. However, I do personally prefer to see it more as the stability and the tree version more, because there is other parts of Egyptian lore that do very obviously and clearly, much more clearly than this, refer to the phallus and the penile region, and symbolism used for that. So that's just my 2 cents, though, and I am not an Egyptologist who has studied this extensively, nor studied any of these Eastern sexual religion, Kundalini type of things very well either. Let's get into it. So the Jed Pillar of Gold, 155. Raise yourself, Osiris. Place yourself on your side that I may put water beneath you, and that I may bring you a Jed Pillar of Gold so that you may rejoice at it. So I think this first part is a teaching moment just because of the ability to call and to give offering to your deity, your spirit guide, your ancestors, whoever you're talking to. I think that was a really, just a clear, you don't have to do too much fancy stuff, blah, 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 all this stuff. You could just say what you're doing, what's going on. And then it says, to be said over a golden jed pillar, embellished with sycamore bast, to be placed on the throat of the deceased on the day of interment. As for him on whose throat this amulet has been placed, he will be a worthy spirit who will be in the realm of the dead on New Year's Day, like those who are in the suite of Osiris. A matter a million times true. So this I think is really beautiful because it is a death ritual, which that's what most all of this is. However, it's one that reminds you of, okay, there's the act of placing a blessed object upon a body part for a specific purpose, for a specific amount of time, for a specific purpose. This is something I think we could apply to much of our lives, awake, sleeping, healing somebody, healing ourselves of some sort of ailment or something that's holding us back. But this next little section, I think will also impress us with what we can do, because they continue on with this chapter for a knot amulet of red jasper. And now this one sounds, it seems a little more general with its uses. So let me read it to you. You have your blood, O Isis. You have your power, O Isis. You have your magic, O Isis. The amulet is a protection for this great one, which will drive away whoever would commit a crime against him. So what a bold, statement to say. Then that you also have to note the fact that they're calling for the blood, right? The blood is one of the most powerful of, spiritual forms, really, that people can use during their rituals. There is the DNA, right? We've done this before, I think, in the Sacred Sister Circle, if you remember. This is so long ago, but I took a shot, right? But I didn't drink the shot. I spit the shot at what we were doing. I don't even remember what exactly we were doing. Now that I think back on it, I think I did it for the Mojo bag back in January, but I did it for something else as well last year, the year before that. At any rate, that was for the DNA, right? That wasn't, it was the spirits, the liquor, but then also there was the DNA. That's why I put it in my mouth. There's the spit. But spit isn't obviously the only type of DNA out there, right? There's the hair, but blood is a big one. Menstrual blood is an even bigger one, right? Because that's the creative blood. So there's so much, liquids and thought process that we can put into things, fingernails, right? There's so much DNA that can be used into this. So that's what we're calling on here. That's why I say this is very African stuff when you look into it. It's very similar throughout all of our traditional concepts in that way. And then there's the power, you have your magic. So here's where they get into it. To be said over a knot amulet of red jasper, moistened with juice of the life is in it fruit, and embellished with sycamore bast, and placed on the neck of the deceased on the day of interment. As for him for whom this is done, the power of Isis will be the protection of his body, and Horus, son of Isis, will rejoice over him when he sees him. No path will be hidden from him, and one side of him will be towards the sky and the other towards the earth. A true matter. You shall not let anyone see it in your hand, for there is nothing equal to it. So I found that part in particular very interesting. So there is all of the different parts. You'll note that it's not just like a hunk of red jasper and you place it on somebody's throat, which if that's what you have, if that's what you're going for, you're not going to just pick up a red jasper anyways and just place it on someone's throat. You would put it in your hand. You would pray. You would breathe over it. You would speak over it. You would, bless water over it, perhaps, or dirt or some ashes, some sort of something that you had. And so obviously these rituals are for afterlife, to participate with certain gods and do certain things. But you would be able to find ways to use this in your life. What are the using, instead of using the life is in it fruit, which I think is a very interesting, I'd be interested to see what that type of fruit is and why they associated that fruit with life. I'm wondering, is it like just super tasty, vibrant? Who knows? But you have the sycamore, which, didn't we talk about the sycamore being a sacred tree last week, right? We were talking about sacred trees. We talked about, I'm pretty sure, didn't we say the sycamore was the tree that when Jesus and his family were fleeing, Mary and Joseph were fleeing, while pregnant with Jesus, they rested under a sycamore? I think that was the tree. I can't quite remember. Never, don't test me. Don't test me on these things. But my point is I'm like saying they have these things, the sacred plants, the sacred stone, these different things, and so finding ways to make your own amulets. Maybe your amulets don't look like everybody else's, but honey, if you're blessing, infusing, and putting together all of these different things, put it together. But the most important thing I think that we could really take from this was this last sentence: a true matter, you shall not let anyone see it in your hand, for there is nothing equal to it. Do not be just showing it off to every which person. Hey, look around, look at this. You know what I mean? Yeah, sometimes occasionally someone, a friend or something may get a glimpse at your amulet as you do change your jacket or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? You know how some people change in front of their friends, or they're like in the locker room, kids, that type of thing. I mean, that life happens. But the fact of the matter is this is a good moment to show that we shouldn't be showing off to everything. Yes, for this one, nobody should ever see it, especially because they're going to the afterworld and this is strict belief. But with yours, making sure you're keeping your magic to yourself, just in the case that there are people out there who are bitter. There are people out there who will use things against you. There are people who will stick around long enough to rob you of the things you've earned. You know what I mean? So, when you're really out there blasting this information, showing your altar to every which person, and keep in mind, businesses, when they place altars, when I've shown you altars on here, these are altars I made specifically for the Sacred Sister Circle, specifically for the Sankofa Ancestor Shrine. These are specific altars specifically for us. Or if I've shown you a personal one, I think one time I showed you my marriage altar right before I took it down and redid it. So, it just kind of is what it is. Most people, when they show the altar, it's because this one's going down and being remade, or it's a public altar, or it's strictly for promotion, and what you're seeing is not real. It's just video, it's cinema. You know what I'm trying to say? It's an advertisement. It's not really what's going on. And some people just make the advertisements and they never make a real altar for what they're doing. I'm not sure why a lot of people post like all of their client work up, but some people have their rules about that, their ways of doing it. But just know that this is a reminder that it is sacred, it is secret, it is something you got to hold to yourself. And when you're doing these works, you put that mojo bag. Some people make a little tiny pack and put it in their bra. Some people make a necklace and swings around their neck. Whatever you do, you can have some that are available to be seen, but they shouldn't be out here telling everybody what it's for, what's this, what's that, to try to break it down to everybody, show everybody you do what you're doing online, giving people the pictures, because, and even sometimes just telling people, but especially the pictures are a big one. Just make sure to be able to keep sacred things sacred, because you just never know who's out there. And with witching and spiritual stuff, I like that it's really growing, but some people are here just for a fad, just for attention, and that really builds up. My kids have realized I'm in their room. Okay, so we're going to end with this for today. Again, I really recommend this version of this book. Don't forget, please, to get your free version of the prayer book. I updated the PDF. I noticed that people were kind of having issues. So I went at like with it loading imperfectly on the docs. So I went ahead and made it a PDF, put it up on Google Drive, put that on ritualready.com, and it's on Patreon. I'm pretty sure I updated those links too. Um, Please just go to the ritualready.com though, and you'll be able to quickly follow the links and get the downloaded version. And if you found that there were mistakes on your version, the version now I absolutely will be fine to download. It should all be fine. It's all updated, all the pictures. Any of the mistakes I thought I saw where there was like a period where it shouldn't be, or maybe like words cut off on the bottom of the dock or whatever, should be fine now. So at any rate, thank you so much for everybody who supports. Thank you for everybody on the Patreon. Please get your free gift. Keep your eye out for the 2021 spiritual planner, which should be coming at the end of October. And I will see you all next time. May your ancestors and spirit guides be with you at every crossroad.